216, James, INTP here, and Derek, INTJ here. We were just talking about actually how we naturally are and how our parents are talking to us actually. And we were just talking about how as an INTP, TISI is quite tight. And then my parent steps in and says, come on, relax, James, go into any mode and just like focus less. And then Derek here was talking about more the other way where you're quite relaxed in general normally. And then your parent T steps in and says, come on, Derek. And then is there more you can add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like when people look at us, I would say.
As INTJs.
I meant you and I.
Oh, us, okay.
I feel like they would look at you and be like, this guy's pretty easygoing, pretty relaxed. I'm not claiming you aren't, but I'm saying like I tend to look, depends on what I'm doing. Okay, well, like, I mean, just generally, I probably look a little bit more straight-laced, so to speak, or just uptight even, or just uncomfortable, or not human. Like, what I mean by not human is like, I sometimes will just sit like, there's a certain type of schizophrenia. There's a word. There's a type of schizophrenia where like they don't move that much. They don't speak normally, and they don't really show emotion when they talk. There's a name, something catatonic schizophrenia. I sometimes look somewhat catatonic.
Okay.
Not schizophrenic. Catatonic.
When a catatonic, I connect to what's the people that do tremors and then eventually they just stop moving.
Yeah, I don't know
like
about the tremors themselves. I just know catatonic people, like they become rubbery. There's a description for this in psychology, but it's like where you can lift their arm up and it just stays there. Like they don't, they just sit like that.
Okay. So you get stiff, you come across as stiff.
That is one symptom that you were when they're in that state. I don't know that they're always in that state. I don't know enough about it. Anyway, that being said, that's how I kind of look generally, but it's not like, so what we didn't talk about this. We talked about the fact that like you said, despite how easygoing you're looking, I feel like what's going on inside of your mind, the TISI, so introverted things are internal, right, is much more strict. It's much more like, this is how things are, and then TI is saying like, you know, this is what's true, etc. I mean, let's just say it's quite rigid or not very bendable, not very flexible. Mm-hmm. Whereas for me, despite extroverted thinking, so I'm jumping all over here, but like despite extroverted thinking being very structured and organized, and like when you talk to me or when we're discussing something, or if we're talking about work or something we're going to, like just something we're doing, I sound like I sound now, right? But that's not my natural, like, that's not how I am when I'm just kind of existing. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing NI and probably FI if I'm at home or whatever. And NI is like just, it's just like NE in a sense, where there's no structure, there's no limitations, there's no edge to the map, or there is, but anyway, it's, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's unencumbered.
I hear the phrase off in some other galaxy, just off somewhere else.
Yeah, I am. And that's me most of the time. And so that's not ideal when you're outside doing anything. So that's where extroverted thinking comes in and kind of, you know, structures me and tells me like, hey, you know, you got to tighten up here. You got to focus. Focus is the word I would use.
Okay.
You know, work means focus. Going outside means focus.
So internal is unstructured and wavy, mm-hmm. and then as you go out into the external world, you're like, okay, here is where we need some like guardrails and guidelines.
Yeah, because if not, like I will just get hit by a car, mm-hmm. for example, like in a city, or if we're talking, like I would not be able to form a sentence. Mm-hmm. And you've seen me where I don't know if it's because I'm tired or what, where I'm speaking from introverted intuition, and it might as well be a different language mm-hmm. that you haven't learned.
Yeah, as opposed to me, what I've observed, and this is something that this is like almost the phase I've been going through the past week or 2 weeks, which is almost like an internal over stiffening, almost like trying to find my TISI ground in what I'm doing, and never really finding it, and just almost like grinding to a stop. It's like TI couldn't find anything, so I was just pumping the brakes even more. And then what I was describing to you was like it's like I was pushing against a solid wall.
Is it SI pumping the brakes? It's like you're getting
TI.
further and further away from what's known. Oh, TI?
TI, where I'm like, okay, hold on, how can I explain this in such a way that it's like satisfying, and now I can move forward. And the experience was like, okay, actually, I feel like I'm kind of pushing against a concrete wall. Maybe I'm just pushing up a concrete wall, and I can just drop it. And if I drop it, what am I allowed to do? And I'm allowed to do anything. That was the kind of experience. That's any.
Yeah, it's like somehow the parent function was just completely ignored. So I want to already go off on that thread. Like, why do you feel that happened? Or rather, what was up with NE? What was it doing?
Well, I mean, that happens a lot in my life, where I'm like, in a lot of what I'm doing, I'm digging for that TI like conclusion I can find. But actually, a lot of recent explorations I've been having is me understanding that that's never gonna ultimately be true. I'm never gonna ultimately reach that conclusion where I'm like, okay, now I can build everything else on top of that. Because like every time I do that, and this is there's so many. Buddhism is one example where they talk about how this will never like conclude, and so like, but that is like the cycle of an INTP, where I'm building the foundation and then moving from it, and then when I move from it, the foundation is now gone, so I'm building it again.
I just suddenly pictured a hallway where there's a door at the end of the hallway, and you're walking and you're never getting closer, and then you just start running and you're running and you're like, but you're never getting closer to the door. Like, I don't know if that's something you can picture, but I know that's not what you said, but that's what I picked. That was the NI like sort of like picture that came up.
Yeah. But I'll say like this. That has been my experience. My experience was like I was like trying to push and find some solid ground for the last 2 weeks and be like, okay, well, how am I going to figure this out? And the freedom came from when I said, maybe there's nothing to figure out.
Yeah.
And maybe if I just have fun, then I will realize that I'm moving again without even like realizing, without having any logical foundation for what I'm doing. Like I'm just playing.
And honestly, I could probably describe myself as the opposite. When I'm in an NI-FI loop, or just NI even, it's more the opposite. It's like I'm just whatever. I don't know. I'm just thinking endlessly, and it's not until extroverted thinking does its part, and that is where the execution of anything comes in. It's like just the decision to go outside sometimes is like, if I can avoid it, I will, and with the conveniences of present times, I don't even have to go out to get food. I order everything.
That's really interesting too. That's because what I hear in that is, when you decide to go outside, you feel it is important to engage your TE then, and be like when I go outside, it is structured.
It's not even that. It's like the TE is planning out every aspect of me going outside first, and once that's perfected, then I am allowed to go out.
Okay. Yeah.
And I feel like that's not healthy. Well, okay. It depends on how you use it. Like if it's like you haven't gone outside in 3 weeks, yeah, sure, that's probably not ideal. But what I will say is my almost daily reset is me going to the gym. So that's a TESC thing.
Yeah.
Where I just, even if because I'm not going outside. I don't go outside all week. In fact, I usually don't go outside except for when I record this podcast or when we have a meetup or something like this. Aside from that, especially now that I live further from the city, I have absolutely no reason to go outside. And so I, at the very least, go to the gym. And that is the only experience I get with the outside, even though it's in my building. But at least that does sort of reset me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then that does motivate me. When I get back to my room, I can now get on my computer and start doing the extroverted thinking. So doing the tasks that I had lined up for the day. Whereas the days when I can't or don't go to the gym, those are horrible. Like they're terrifying. The whole day is like I feel like I weigh 1,000 pounds and I can't get out of my head and get anything done.
I see.
Is the case when I'm not that mentally fit and don't have enough going on in my life, I think.
Yeah. I find that very interesting because that has been like a recurring, when I say that, I mean parent NE has been a recurring like release and key in my life where this has been my experience. My experience has been I have this small familiar map that is my life. And then anytime I think about going beyond that map, my TI engages and says, okay, how can you justify that is allowed? Of course, it has no answer because it has no experience there. And so the release has always been, well, you don't know and you can't know. So let's just try it out. And that's when I say any.
Or you don't need to know. Maybe it does.
You don't know and you can't know, and you don't know and you can't know, and after you do it, one thing that really released this for me was like after I did it, I now had a lot of like reasons why it was valid to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, that's very like addicting. Like I have new material to think about.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, and that's exactly why you use extroverted intuition. And the same with me. It's like without, we're basically talking about the first and third loop, and third cognitive functional loop.
Yeah.
And this is how it embodies itself in the two of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to give my perspective on when I see you using extroverted intuition. It's the best of James that I see. Like, I'm not discounting your TI. I'm not saying your TI is not useful. I mean, when I listen to theories that you like, the theories that it comes up with, or just truths or whatever, like they're very fascinating. I'm not claiming that's not the case. I'm just saying, like, I can really tell. I can feel the energy from the NE. I can see the excitement in you. You look happy. You look, or at least satisfied, or I don't know. Maybe it's a release of energy. Let's call it that. Pent up energy, maybe even. And it's almost as if I can see the steam being released from TI, or depressurization, like on a spaceship or something. Do they do that there? Anyway, and so that's good. And when I see that, I'm like, yeah, this is something that he really should do more often. And I wonder to myself why you're not doing it all the time, because every time you talk about doing extrovert intuition, it's always positive. I've never heard a negative word from you about it, except for, darn it, I wish I could keep up with ENFPs or ENTPs, but I can't. Aside from that, and I don't think you really put it that way, it just sounded that way to me. So yeah, I wonder to myself, like, so me being who I am, I'm trying to figure out myself, what could we do, or could you do, what could you I was going to say, like, instantiate in your life that could keep you accountable to yourself without it being too rigid.
Two things come to mind. One is emotional. One is so something that I've been repeating to myself recently is like just like 4 words or something, just abundance, joy, peace, love. And these are like very illogical words. and so when I stand there, that is like almost giving myself the permission to stop trying to figure it out. And that is that. Okay, so that the reason why one trigger that really gets me like in TISI is like this sense that I need to figure it out. And if I don't figure out, then bad things are going to happen. And then I stop being able to wander. You know?
Okay, so bad things are going to happen to whom? To you? We're forgetting your FE. I mean, FE. The whole we talked before about how TI does what it does because it's like this is whatever it is, whether it's useful or not. I feel like this is for the betterment of humankind, or just it's for the people, let's say, or the group.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I wonder if it wouldn't help to think about others, not a specific person. Just think about the people you would be helping if you just got out of that. Yeah, this is difficult. I didn't think about what I was saying before I said it.
I will say this, like I tried that,
Mhm.
and I think it's just too distant for me for it to like really make sense, because what I'm trying to figure out, here's the kind of thought process I go through when I do that is like, if I can't figure this out, then how useful is it to anyone? That's kind of what I say. So like that's kind of like a trap, actually.
So maybe I was on the right thread, but in the wrong direction. Like saying like it's a good thing, but it's actually that would be the wrong way to look at it.
Well, that was one thought I was having, and it's all in the world that's not any. And actually, what I saw was like the release over the last week or two is just giving up,
Okay.
because like it's like in that living in that world of like having to figure it out, and like is like being solid and frozen.
So again, I'm sort of going to ask the same. I'm asking this just for it to be heard. What can we do? Because any is dormant, or it's being, I don't know. It's like it's got a shot of like a sleep like a sleep dart or something. How do we wake up? I say we. How any is like not doing its job. And another question I have, which I would like to sort of look at, is shouldn't any FE have some sort of relationship, whether it's an opposing one or working together?
Yeah.
And if you don't have an answer to that, I was looking at myself with TSE, and it's like I told you before how if T doesn't plan everything out, I don't go outside. Well, that's the caveat. That doesn't always work. And so I was like, we didn't talk about SE. Well, what is SE doing? My SE is when I'm out, just sort of taking in information, feeding my NI.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, so that's actually somewhat spontaneity, which is anti-TE in some sense. And so I thought that's my getaway sometimes. And that's also absolutely necessary for me to not lose my mind, because, for example, when we go out and do stuff together, sometimes I'm like, well, if I don't have a purpose, I shouldn't do it. It's a waste of my time. But SE is like, what? We're just here to experience stuff. So if I may speak quickly about yesterday, so yesterday, Saturday, the previous Saturday, we went to a meetup, the same exact venue. I went there with a purpose, and I used extroverted thinking during that time, and I got stuff done. Whereas last night, going to the exact same event, I purposefully did not bring my business cards, I did not plan on speaking business, and just was there. And so it was more or less saying, now this does sound like a plan, but it was unplanned. What I mean, it was unstructured. And so I was like, let's use extroverted sensing or just NI or whatever. Let's just be there and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And that is, while it sounds very unlike me, I feel like that was also necessary. And I wonder,
was it what was that experience like for you? I'm curious.
Well, yesterday was actually quite great because we met somebody that I clicked with, and that was fun. Mm-hmm. And so I hung out with that person a bit, but I also purposely separated myself from everyone, both you and the people we went with.
Yeah.
I didn't like it because I was speaking to it was okay. Like I was talking about MBTI anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was like I felt like I was speaking business. And the reason is because people only seem to ask you those mundane questions. What do you do? Mm-hmm. Where were you born? Blah, blah, blah. I spoke to an ESFP that doesn't really believe in MBTI so much because he's American Korean, if that really matters. But he was willing to listen, which I thought was fascinating. So this is me just going down the thread of like what happened and how I felt at the same time. So yeah. Anyway, I spoke to this person like at length, but he asked me about 100 questions. So it felt almost like I was with your father. Like, where are you from? Why did you do that? And he was connecting the dots too, just in a different way, which is interesting. The difference between an ESTP and ESFP. Yeah. These are all the things that were going through my head, but at the same time, I was like, I want this to stop because it was aimless and it wasn't fun. If it's fun, SE is satisfied. When it isn't fun, then I want to either have a purpose or eject. And so eventually I did eject. I came to you and asked you a question, and then I went back to the other person that was more fun.
Yeah,
But overall, it was fun. The question was, how was it?
Yeah.
I realized I really want to be with people I like.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fun realization too. And I was with somebody that let me just sort of be goofy. And SE is very, we said pokey, but also I feel it's also quite goofy. It's just
Yeah.
do what you like.
Yeah. And I will say that that was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I met a lot of NE based people. I met an INFP and I think an ENTP likely. And I love that. I just love, like, I think that is also a big unlock for NE, which is like when I go to other NE people and I speak NE out loud and then they engage and we just woo, then I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this, huh? Okay, and it takes me out of CIS.
I met the goofiest ENFP yesterday too. I hope you may have met him already, but he was just nuts. He's like, I don't even need alcohol. I was like, who spoke about alcohol? I don't want you anywhere near anything. Mm-hmm. He was just having a great time. Everything was just about how he just felt good, and he was himself, and that was great. But it is funny, the table I found myself at, it was like ISTP here and then ESFP here, so I didn't get in any table. That might have been more interesting for me because I like listening to any or watching it, let's say, more so than an ISTP who was just kind of like, she was fine. Like, she was excited to be there, just wasn't really saying much. And then an ESFP, like, talking my ear off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was different.
But it was interesting talking to the INFP, talking with her, because I observed one person was dressed up, and I saw, well, I guess he's ISFP, and I was like, well, some people dress to express themselves, and other people dress just to like not get noticed or like just good enough, and then they want to like move on to other stuff. What kind of person do you see yourself as? And to me, that's a very NE exploration topic.
Did you ask this person that?
I asked. Well, yeah. Well, I noticed the ISFP was wearing like earrings and long hair and certain fashion. Mm-hmm. And then the INFP was comparatively just very business casual, like just it's, you almost get the sense, I feel for me too, like right now, I feel like I'm dressed to be unoffensive, so that people are just like, oh, okay, good enough, and then let's just talk now.
Maybe in Canada, wearing like, what is this called, plaid. What I also think is INFPs wear what they like. ISFPs wear, as you say, to impress or to make a statement. To
express.
Express. Yeah. What did I said something else.
Impress.
Express in order to impress. I don't know. Maybe that's ESFP. But
yeah.
So that is interesting.
So when I shared this like very random question and topic, the INFP was like completely engaged and like talking with me, and we were like, doing any exploration together. That was very fun.
Yeah, FINE versus FISE. And so ISFP, what were they about?
Well, he was just sharing. He was like, I'll wear the things that I like.
He talked about what he was wearing.
Yeah.
How did that come up?
Well, I just noted like he was wearing. You may have seen him. He had like fingernails painted and stuff.
I don't know.
And I was just, that's interesting that your fingernails are painted. When did you start doing that? And he said, maybe 3 years ago. And so we were going down that path of conversation.
I don't want to ask this, but why did you ask him that? Like, why did you feel it was noteworthy, especially being someone who doesn't really care about looking at people?
Because I had nothing to talk about.
So you were just looking for something to grab onto.
Yeah.
Okay, and you grabbed his fingers. All right, I see.
Because
that just feeds him. Like, I'm sorry, but those types of people look for attention, and so I wonder what's going on there. Like, Parent SE, is that doing it? Is it FI? What? I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, well, they talk about that too. When I say dating advice, people talk about like wearing something that is remarkable to almost like make it easy to talk to. Some like if you wear a different kind of hat, people are like, oh, that's an interesting hat you have, and
I hate that, because to me it's like that person has no tact, that person has no ability. Like, I'm just like, you have to. Like, it's like you have to wear a sign saying, look at me, in order to interact with people. And I wouldn't want to procreate with that person.
Well, I mean,
is what I would say, no matter what my gender is.
my sense at a meetup, for example, is that there is very limited ability. Like there are limited things that you can go off of to have any conversation that is anything beyond generic, and so anything is like a lifeline already.
I understand what you're saying. I'm going to disagree with it, but once I pictured a room of, because there's like 100 people there. If everyone had a goofy hat on, now what are you talking about?
Well, it's like, oh, why did you choose that goofy hat? You can say that, and then now I can actually talk about the person.
Okay, fine.
Like,
I just
that person chose that one, and you chose that one. Why?
I feel like if people's lives aren't that interesting, they're either wanting someone to say something interesting to them, or just I don't know. They should stay home, because like what I'm thinking is like when I go, I'm listening, but also I have things in my pocket that I can talk about. But there have to be people that are willing to listen, and so I'm an interesting person, whether you feel that's true or not.
Yeah. What can I say?
Yeah.
I think what you're speaking from right now is likely NIFI, where you're like, oh, there are things that I would love to talk about if you just ask me about it, right?
Yeah, I mean that takes some mind reading in order, because like frankly, looking at me, you don't know what I like. In fact, people make those assumptions, and that's fascinating too. And this is a different thread. Like talking about funny hats. Like I don't dress the way Koreans do, especially, and I don't really even dress the way normal Americans do. And so that becomes a topic sometimes, but I'm not dressing the way I do for attention at all. Like I wear what I like.
Yeah.
Like
so what I was talking to right there is, because I am NEFE, I have no idea what my life is about right now, and I'm just gonna find out what you're about. So
yeah.
If we're not gonna talk about you and the choices that you're making, I do a YouTube channel. But see, like that's all I'll really say about it, you know.
So but it sounds like you're not really. The motivation is not to talk about yourself. And now I'm wanting to delineate, if you will, what the difference between NE and SE, because SE is asking questions, NE is asking questions. It sounds like NE though has trouble finding where to grab onto, whereas SE just already has a list of things.
I think both of them are grabbing stuff. It's just SE is grabbing stuff that you see. And NE is grabbing stuff of like, oh, here are like the hunches that I'm getting from the combined picture that I am gathering from this story right now.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you look at the ISFP and be like, oh well, you look like you're kind of a weirdo. What's going on there?
But like I would never say that. That's why.
I don't know. I feel like that NE would say something like that if it weren't being inhibited by something else.
No.
You look different.
Especially NEFE, I think.
NEFE.
But see, one thing I really like to do actually is essentially cold read, where I say, like, can I tell you the vibe I get from you right now?
Oh boy.
You're giving me like, you give me like education, like teacher vibes. Like I say that stuff.
I've seen you do
that. That's NE.
Yeah. Okay. That is. I've never really made the connection.
I'm like taking like a collection of different like data points that I've kind of collected, and you're acting in a way that connects to a teacher's pattern. Like I meet a lot of teachers, and I'm like, oh, they all act this way. I don't know how to place it, but you kind of give me that same feeling.
Okay, I want to go out and back. Are you how accuracy wise?
See, it doesn't matter.
I get that. I'm wondering if you've at all kept track. Do you have a sense of how often you're on?
I would, like, if I were to put a percentage on, I would say like 70, 80%.
Nice. But it probably depends on your experiences.
Yeah. So it's like the only things I would talk about are things that I have experience in. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I'm tracking along. And wow, I just like I'm brain farting right now.
It's fine, because I was gonna come back and then like I also lost it. Dang. Okay. Cool.
Well, let's just backtrack a little bit.
Wow. This is funny. Because like I just want to start FIing, I think, because I'm just gonna start saying random comments about how I felt at the thing.
Yeah.
And that's not very productive either. Because I'll tell you why I asked that question. I asked the question about NE because I just want to learn more about it, and I wonder. I mean, I already kind of had the answer in my head. It's like, well, it depends on your experiences, like how accurate you are, but also like I do know that INTPs are sometimes known for not really being able to read the atmosphere, but I don't know that that extends as far as to being able to read a person, singular person. Then I started. So this is the where my mind went. Then I thought about, well, introverted feeling is something that is eighth for you. So
Yeah.
you don't really naturally have the ability to just sort of like know what a person, I was going to say not feel, like, because it's not empathy. Now I've lost myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
The one-on-one thing is what I find interesting, because like
Yeah,
you're not interested
no.
in people
no.
at all. You're
No.
interested in the conversation, I imagine, or the exploration of that person, maybe.
Yeah, I have noticed that. This is a very okay. So I'm connecting it to a post I just made on Quora, where it asked like, how do INTPs flirt, right? And
Whoa.
and I described essentially all I do is this: I give the person eye contact and attention, and I talk about whatever random topic that comes up, and I stand physically closer than I typically would.
So
And that's flirting.
the only difference between how you talk to everyone and that person is the distance between which you're speaking to them.
Yeah, and like these very like subtle little physical cues of like, oh, I'm interested.
Like, do you wink at them?
Well, it's just like longer eye contact and like a little like smile or something.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm just back, and then maybe like while I'm talking to someone else, I'm just like close to the person.
Now I'm gonna watch you like a hawk when you speak to any female and see like, okay, is James attracted to this person or not?
Yeah. So, but I connect that to FE versus FI, because that FE is like, oh, isn't this great? We're having this great conversation right now, and that's how I know that we're connected. Whereas I feel FI is more like, so tell me something about you. And then the person's like, I say this, is like, oh, now I know you better. I feel that's the FI conversation.
I say this and now I know you better. I don't know. There's a lot of passing back and forth of information with people that I talk to.
And then FI, like, what I feel FI is like, thank you. Someone finally shared something about themselves. When someone's like, oh, I love that movie. Oh, thank you for saying something. You know, that's kind of what I feel about FI. Like,
I'm just trying to tie that into flirting. Like, I don't know what I look like when I flirt. It just happens.
Yeah,
and it's very rare. I don't flirt with every girl that I'm physically attracted to. I only flirt with the one that I was meant to flirt with. There's a weird Keikaku-Doori sort of situation going on, and I does it for me.
Can I share with you my observations?
Yeah, if you've had any. Regarding me.
Well, first of all, you engage SE, which is just you poke and make fun of the person and you give attention. But you might do that with people you just do get along well with, maybe.
And then I do it to people I don't like too, so it is a bit confusing.
But then the other thing I notice is you want to make plans with the person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the observation of it.
Yeah, and actually there were a couple people in the past that I sort of like felt like this little bit of attraction to, but like I had no intention of even trying to date them. I even talked to you about them as if I was going to, but like I really wasn't going to, and I think that's why it just went so poorly. Making plans with them, that is interesting. That happens like if I'm doing things the way I'm meant to do it, like I usually save that more way towards the end. So that's why I'm saying I wasn't really naturally probably behaving the way I meant to behave. Like there's a lot more playfulness with people that I'm actually flirting with. There's subtle touching. There's flirtatious words or phrases, or just I'll ask a like weird question just to like throw them off guard, but to let them know like, oh, like you wouldn't normally ask somebody that, would you? Like I don't know, like I'm actually trying to explain something that I really don't want to explain.
It's not very SE, by
secret, and it's also like. But it's also just, it's person to person basis. Like, I just know. And like, usually when I end up like dating somebody or whatever, like, I don't plan it. It's
Yeah.
actually the ones that I think like I like that person. I'm gonna go talk to them. I never end up dating that person. That means I wasn't really going to date the person. It's like I just get if I have a connection with somebody, and like I will give you this little hint. There's eye contact, but it's not just the eye contact. Like I don't know what it is with certain people, but we're able to convey information through our
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah. And that's yeah. I do that. I do that too, but I feel the whole vibe of our conversation. I mean, I would describe it as very energetic.
I was just about to say, and then I radiate an energy, and I
Ah.
think that energy is probably pheromones or something. But also, there's like a heat thing going on. I think I can feel some sort of vibrations going on, and I feel like the vibrations from them are hitting the like I can just like we're already vibrating, and then like the vibrations are like the oscillations are higher, so you can feel them sort of hitting each other. Now I'm going NI on you, and that might be what I'm feeling aside from just yeah, it's just something very deep inside that happens. And then I just after that though, then I might do the FI thing where I start like asking certain questions or letting them. I usually let them ask me. Like I don't ask people that many questions. I just read people. I'll ask them later, like way later. And yeah, and then I just see how those go. Like if I can tell that they like the answers to the questions that they asked, and the fact that I'm giving answers also shows I'm interested too. Because if someone asks me a question that I don't like, I'm just like, why? Or oh, I don't know. Like what I mean is like, let me think. Like, because women and men, but women like will vet a guy. Like, I bet you flirt with all kinds of girls. Or what do you don't you like that girl over there? I'm like, huh? I actually was like, this happened yesterday. I was like, what? What do you mean? Why? What?
Yeah.
I get angry, but like, cause I'm like, I'm interested in you. Why on earth would you ask me about someone else? I guess that's probably an insecurity. They're probably testing me. That's what I mean by questions. I just like sort of like answer those, and my answer will if it's something that's about the person I'm talking to, then I answer them very well. If they ask me about something outside of us, then I don't answer them because I'm laser focused on that person.
Yeah. I've said stuff like that before, and I like my read on stuff like that is it's actually like a conceptual step forward, but with hesitation and like a little doubt, like are you sure you want to talk to me like that, but it's said in a way that's protective.
Yeah. I may have done that when I was younger, and I've gotten to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just trust myself, and I'm gonna not trust that person, but I'm not gonna do that I'm not gonna play that game because I'm not insecure. I'm assertive and I know what I want. And so I just keep saying to them, no, I'm interested in you. I will say those words to the person.
Yeah. See, that's
I wouldn't have done that as a younger person.
That's that's not very it's not very authentic, or it doesn't really feel like me to ever say that.
Yeah, of course not.
Okay.
It's very directed. It's like because I know the game that they're playing and I know the end of it. So why don't I just skip to the end? I mean, that's just strategy. And I know that if they like me, they know it already. So we don't need to play this game. I'm just like, we're just going to meet now. And then that goes way better than the way I used to handle it, which was just, both of us sort of not just beating around the bush.
Yeah.
I just go in for it.
So I'm trying to track where this came from.
We are talking about the difference between how your NE. No, that's where we started. Actually, that's more fun for me. Is like how we are not technically off topic, but we are. Well, now we are.
Well, I think we're fine. I think we're fine. But that really, I feel like that is my ideal form of socializing, which is I just get around people and then just ball of energy, blah 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 blah, and then like around people. And that's my socialism.
This comes from a man who says, I don't need to socialize. I remember you saying that a few months ago. Now, what is, has anything changed, or does that have a different meaning for you? Because I'm glad that you're saying that. Like, basically, what I want to point out here is, like, you seem like you're out of that funk, sort of. When we got here today, you seemed still a bit out of, like, you weren't vibrating. You were off of your vibration. What am I trying to say? Like, you were...
Yeah, so when I first came here, I had this feeling of like the TI question, where am I going? And then like that question is just not, there's no answer. So when I don't answer that, then actually good things can happen, which is any.
So if I may use the word progress from 2 weeks, because I feel like these are things that you don't just realize, well, I need to any more, therefore I will any. Now I'm anying.
Yeah.
It's gonna take, you have to slowly work your way into it, even though it's something you did in the past maybe. But TI had control for so long, and I don't think NI or TI. Did I say T? I meant TI. NI and TI, they don't want to give up control.
Yeah, and this is, well, it's like the definition of play. If you attempt to intentionally play, then you're not playing. It's like when you're like, oh, I don't know, and then now you're playing. So it's like, it's the opposite. It's that's why giving up sounds bad, but it's not bad. Giving up equals any. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess NI is like always playing, and then TE is like stop playing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like
playing with the idea.
It's like, and I've noticed this with like ESTJs and stuff, or just STJs. When they're not working, they just become they become nothing.
Yeah, I watched an ISTJ just turn into butter today, like because it's their day off. Like 6 days a week, they're busy. You know.
Yeah, and I think a similar thing happens to you when you're not out. You just like, are you Derek? Hello?
Yeah.
And then when you go out, you're like, T.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's not, because we're not describing the same things, and while there is some aspect of that, I am all over the place. Because like a T's never shuts up. What I mean is like I don't really relax. So when I say NI is doing what it's doing, it's not uninhibited though. It is like what I mean is it's uninhibited for a span of time. I can hear TE, like it'll just come into, like the volume will go up, and I'm like, I had to do this, but it doesn't mean I do anything. So T is saying do stuff, but then I'm like, no, shut up, and then I go back to NI again, or FI or whatever, and that I think is happening more so than just I'm gone. But I couldn't really tell you how long the spells of me not being there are. So like, because I don't really have, time doesn't exist in NI, same as NE, I suppose.
Yeah. So if I could,
Yeah. Well, please ask questions. Actually, because like even what I just said doesn't sound right to me. No matter how much I try to explain introvert intuition, I can't, and I know why. I don't think any question will ever have the answer, because you can't explain NI. It's unexplainable. It is so deep. It is subconscious, and it can't. I never know when it's happening. It just does what it does. Yeah, if I may.
Well, I just kind of like an explanation just came into mind for me that can summarize the last 2 weeks for me, which was, I thought giving up was the wrong thing to do, and so I was like, oh no, I can't give up. I have to blah 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 blah. But it turns out, counterintuitively, giving up was the best thing to do, because giving up, it gives me access to any.
Yeah, I hate the word give up, but I think that will essentially, by giving up, NE will end up leading you somewhere anyway, and then TI will do what it's going to do anyway. It's like you're not really giving up.
Yeah, well,
because like give up to me sounds like, well, like just everything. So it means no more reading books, no more your YouTube channel, no more podcast. Is that really true though?
Well, yeah, because
no more anything.
Because doing all those things are TI.
I see the structure in that. Yeah, well, I mean, you're not meant to do any endlessly. You're not an extrovert.
Yes, and NE will naturally lead to TI.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you were going to say, but otherwise that's also unhealthy. But I already knew that. I knew that that's not you. You're not going to just NE endlessly. You wouldn't last very long. Like you would die. Yeah. So that was very morbid.
Yeah. So I think that really is how it feels when I get stuck. Is when I'm like, oh, I can't stop. I'm working on something right now, and I don't really understand why I'm doing it anymore. But this is what progress is. And then if I'm like only there, then I can get like just very dry feeling. I don't know why I'm doing any of this, but I can't give up. That's kind of like where I end up.
Have we landed on a way to balance that out though? Like, because I wonder. Obviously, you're making some sort of progress in the past 2 weeks with allowing any to do what it's meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel okay? How about this? Do you feel it's in the trajectory of leveling out now, or that it will level up?
Like there, I don't think there is a leveling out. I think I'm intentional. I think NE is just naturally a explosive kind of way of thinking.
Fine.
However, and what I want to say is this. I think this is a very like. There's an emotional way for me to tell that I need to do this when I start to feel dry, and I start to want to give up, and it's like when I resist that, then that's going the wrong way.
Yeah. So how are you going to recognize moving forward the resistance?
Allowing myself to do more of these like aimless things.
Right, but if TI has a grip on you, you're not going to allow it. So what I'm picturing is 2 months from now, I'm going to see the same James I saw 2 weeks ago, because I feel like it's going to be cycles. You're going to be tightened up again. You're going to be on a path of some theory or something. So I'm probably just trying to do something that isn't going to happen, which is like find a way to not do that as much or at all, and maybe it's just something that will always happen, or maybe you're not on the right path.
I think it will happen sometimes, and I also think simply allowing more play in my life will already, like you said, will loosen.
Okay, just the remembering. Like I want SI to do its bloody job and remember that, to tell your brain, hey, TI, shut up. Let NE do what it's meant to do. Mm-hmm. And like I feel like SI should remember that and like know the order of things and how it should go. If this, then that. I know it's not a logical thing, but it's certainly storing memory of your past experiences, if I'm not mistaken. And so the average of those experiences should be stored in SI. And if the average goes to TI heavy, it's going to be, well, that's normal. That's how James is supposed to do it. We're supposed to TI all the time, right? And so it's going to tell you to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You're right.
And so I feel like the more you do extroverted intuition, the more that will become the average of TI, and NE will become averaged out. It won't be so unbalanced. It'll level itself. That's what I meant by leveling out earlier. I know it's not the child function's function to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So other the vocabulary I can use, and see, I wonder how different like our paths are when it comes to like feeling healthy and moving forward. However, this vocabulary helps me, which is whatever you're doing, it's not that important. It's not that important. And when I realize that and I relax, then I get enabled.
Perfect, because it brings us full circle. I'm the opposite. The more I'm like, this doesn't matter, the more I'm doing NI, FI, or just NI. And it takes me to say the opposite. You need a purpose, or else why are you here? You don't exist for no reason, says extroverted thinking, so get on it. And so I have to be drawn back in, which does bring us back to the beginning, which we were talking about the difference between how our parent functions are, and that it's literally the opposites of each other. And that's really cool to me for some reason. I don't know why. Because I think it's just because of the way we look to people, because I don't really want to be super clear to people, actually. Like that makes me comfortable. And so I like being misread, actually, because then I'm safe in my turtle shell, since INTJs are turtles, apparently. And so, like I said, I might look rigid.
Can I attempt to hear what you just said, which is when you don't want to be held to a TE agreement or contract, you don't want to say anything. Is that kind of?
No.
You don't want to be connected to me?
I don't want someone to look at me and be able to judge anything. Okay. I want question marks.
Okay.
And SE and I allow me to do that. And all of it. I mean, because when SE is happening, it's like, oh, this guy's an extroverted something or other. What is he? And then next minute it's like, well, this guy's extremely introverted and looks very angry. And then next minute it's like, oh, well, wow, that was a really interesting conversation we're having about these things. And this guy's getting a lot done. Next minute, That guy's over there in the corner floating off into outer space. I like that. And I know why. It's because that's who I am. Like, we're known to be that way, and that's for a reason.
Does freedom have anything to do with
No, that's literally what I'm describing, the word
Okay.
freedom.
Okay.
And freedom is a word I like. Like, that is literally my goal right now, which is economic freedom. Financial freedom is actually the word I was looking for. Because that allows me to be truly free in a world where that matters. That's where we are. Like money and wealth and these things matter. Health matter. I want to build my health up too, because then I'm free to live my life without being scared of dying.
Yeah.
So freedom, yeah, I think INTJ equals freedom, or all 16 might equal that.
Yeah.
Yours is freedom to play.
Yeah, and see, like I just connected it to why I often push away FE, because FE like adds importance to like these things that I don't want to think are important, and so I feel like hemmed in.
May I call it a social obligation?
Yeah.
And a systemic obligation.
Yeah.
Like, you are a part of the system too. Don't forget about it. You don't. No. You don't get to go out and just play and do what you want. You are one of us, and you have to fit in.
Yeah, like when nothing is important, then I start to like do cool stuff, do stuff that I think is awesome, but it's like, oh, but don't go there. I'm like my arm is now stuck.
So wow, TIFE is not helpful to any at all.
Yeah.
Two judging functions. Two functions are very serious. They want you to do stuff for the good of everything, and like NE's like, nope.
Yeah.
Can't just do that.
Yeah, I feel NE is almost like the kid kicking down the sandcastle.
Yeah. And where does SI fit into all this?
SI is just my sense of bearings. Like, where am I?
Yeah, I think, okay, because otherwise you would just not exist anymore. Like, you already say you don't exist, but like you wouldn't even be there would be no James.
Yeah, well, I mean that's my impression of ENTP and ENFP. It's like,
Oh yeah?
It's like, oh, you thought I was that? No, I'm actually like, I'm going somewhere else now. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to meet more ENTP. I'm meeting more than enough ENFPs, I feel like, these days, and they're not as... The one I met yesterday was, wow. Like, I don't know what that was. Like, I was like, is this... I don't even know if this is NE. I don't know what I was experiencing. It was obviously NE. And he was just, oh man, everything was just goofy. But then I look at another ENFP that we're around often as well, and like I don't get any of that, honestly. There's like there's curiosity there, but I don't feel the energy. And I that's not a negative thing. I don't know what that means. I don't know why that's occurring.
Yeah, well,
and I wonder.
The general sense I get is like, oh, that was actually something I was exploring before. I'm going here now. Like that is generally what I see.
Yeah. I meant the demeanor of the ENFPs I'm meeting. Like, there's one in particular that's very unhealthy that he's all over, like, he just does FI. But like, I'm just looking at the difference between the person I met yesterday and the person that you and I meet often, and they were quite different.
I see.
Yeah. So anyway, I like I said, I'm going back to being one more time. I just something about the whole idea of like how we look the opposite of what we are, if I may say, internally.
Yeah.
And actually, I would like to explore this further with other types. Like, is that occurring with all introverts, or are there pairings? Because INTJ INTP pairing is a thing, but like I wonder. I don't know much about other pairings in the introverted world. So I'm just going to throw out random one. I'm not even looking at the letters. ISTP and INFJ, for example. I mean, I'm not even looking at the cognitive functions in my head. I'm just saying, I wonder if they like are like that. If there's anything going on there, or the remaining ones I didn't name.
Yeah, we can explore that.
Yeah.
Does that wrap up what we're talking about today?
I don't think there's anything to wrap. We went, and now we're like, for me, because it's NI, right? I started here, now I'm there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, this is gone now. All the stuff we talked about is gone.
Yeah.
For me.
I will say one image that came to mind, and then we can finish. I like to view I think a very healthy way to view everything I'm doing is like I'm drawing sketches. Nothing is that important. I'm sketch 1, sketch 1000. And over time, things are discovered and understood, but no sketches that.
Yeah, I like that
That's
because
what I see.
that's what a sketch is, right? It's not meant to be the final draft. And in fact, I could almost argue I don't know if there is a final draft in an INTP world. There's just endless drafts, and somebody picks the one up and they take that and turn it into a final draft. Is my just taking that that creativity one step further. Excellent.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
See you next time.
Bye.